welcome to Your Space with your host Hannah Arinite. Right here on Your Space, we allow young people to express their thoughts and express their views. With me in studio is a fantastic team I was with here last Sunday, and the comments were going crazy on our YouTube and on our Twitter. We had to bring the panel right back. Now, I'm going to allow the panel to introduce themselves, starting with the lady seated right beside me. Welcome to the show, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Anna. I'm Patricia Chano Kiria. Good evening, viewers. It is indeed a pleasure to be part of this conversation today.
Yes, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Hannah Rinaitwe. My name is Oremo Dwe. Most people like calling me OO. I'm a very proud son of Dokolo district in Lango in northern Uganda. Very pleasure to be on the studios of UBC once again this weekend.
Thank you so much for having me. Sorry.
Yes,
Thank you so much for gracing our panel. Yes.
Yes. Good evening, viewers. My name is Monica Achayo. Very glad to be here today.
Now, on today's episode, we're just going to be continuing what we had started last Sunday. We're going to be looking at raising humanity in a corrupt world. How do we keep our ethical maze on track? Now, we are going to start with a conversation with Dr. Patricia. Dr. Patricia, how does a person who is integral stand as an independent even when the places around them are saying the complete opposite? How do you do it?
A person who is integral has got inbuilt values and principles they just cannot compromise with, irrespective of the challenges, irrespective of whether they're in the middle of a storm, coming out of a storm, or entering a storm. There are principles they just cannot compromise with. Yes. Why? What are the principles we're talking about? We looked at them the other week. Faithfulness, truthfulness, honesty, integrity, trust, and respect. When you have those, you're able to conduct yourself in a manner that is respectful. You're able to carry on the principles of being ethical and having integrity in carrying out your work. Because the world today is so mad with so many things going on around. Compromises, corruption here and there, people are taking bribes, people are abusing government property, people are, squandering government resources here and there. You had the examples we had last week about the District Service Commission selling jobs and so on. Now that calls for a systemic approach, to deal with. But we cannot talk about the approach without looking at ourselves as individuals, because one, we have to be leaders by example in order to deal with the problem we have. If I am a leader who is corrupt, then that person who was stolen, when they report a case to me, will pay me and then the person will go away. But a leader who is determined to serve his country, who is patriotic, should be able to handle that matter with integrity, without any compromises, and ensure that the matter is investigated and this person is taken for prosecution. If the person admits guilt, then we can put the person to task to actually pay back and refund and make good of the loss he has caused. But it calls for being ethical. It calls for having standards of integrity.
Yes.
It calls, and integrity, by the way, allows others to trust you. If I walk the talk, then others will be able to trust me as well. So it is the glue that holds people together. Trust is that glue that holds people together. Because if trust is gone, then nobody will be held together. Trust is becoming a very rare commodity in our country today. And in order to build this trust, I think there is need for us to model consistency of character. Previously, we talked about character and reputation. And I said, if character and reputation is like gold, then integrity is the gold mine. Because it is very important for people to trust you, and it's very important for even we as leaders to build that trust. Now, going back to the subject of corruption, corruption happens today because people have compromised standards. People have compromised standards. People have lost confidence in systems, and that's why I was talking about a systemic approach. That is why you see people these days going to buy jobs. If they have not gotten the jobs, then they come to make noise and say, you know, I paid the chairman this much and I didn't get the job, and that calls for investigations. But in order to minimize all that, I think we need to talk about mindset change. And now allow me repeat what I said in the beginning. It starts from the foundation. Because they say if you do not deal with this thing from the foundation at family level, then it goes up into institutions, it goes up into the higher levels, and it eats up the country like a cancer. So we need to deal with this problem from the foundation. But picking on the example that OO shared, especially on the systemic issues like buying jobs, and those are approaches we have been taking in the Inspectorate of Government. We have engaged with heads of institutions through boardroom sessions, using the Directorate of Ombudsman Affairs. But like he said, we need to also use the arm of the law, and that is the reason why we investigate and prosecute the cases of corruption. But that is not enough. What we need to do more is to disseminate these principles, these values, so that everybody gets to know what they are, so that the youth can own it up, and everybody owns the war against corruption and be able to report. The scenario he was giving, where there are like 7 people and everybody seems to be in the racket and one person has to stand different. That person can stand different and come and report the 7, and we tackle and deal with that problem and cure the university, if it is the Senate, be able to deal with that situation at that level. Because if this one person keeps quiet, then the whole system will be rotten. Know that they're going to get that money from that release or from whatever deal it is, and it is stealing money and it affects service delivery. But if this one person stands up and is distinctive and wants to be exemplary, this person can come up and report such cases to us for action. And that is what we are doing actually with the institutions. We are relying heavily on whistleblowers. We have the whistleblower protection law, and a whistleblower gets 5% of the proceeds when we recover the money. Even when they prevent loss, within the law we have a provision of rewarding.
I didn't know that
whistleblower. So what OO said here, if he comes and reports to us, the university will benefit, even him, he will benefit, and the entire country will benefit, because we'll have prevented loss. And this is the reason why we encourage people out there to be confident and bold and come and report. If you love this country and you're patriotic and you want to see change, I think we need to join hands in dealing with these issues. Thank you.
Monica, have you been a whistleblower before?
No, but I'm very inspired.
To become one.
I'm seeing my whistle.
I'm worried that you might whistleblow lies.
No, just said it has to be, you know, you have to
Authentic.
attach evidence. Yeah,
Yes,
you can just come and
yes.
say, I saw her, I saw her.
So Monica,
Yes, please.
coming to you, have you had a personal experience where you have been faced with unfair treatment and corruption?
Yes, yes, I have. And I think we can mention institutions.
Yes, you can.
Thank you very much. I have had such experiences, and I was not very excited. There was an okay, I think when I mention the name, it will be weird. But anyways, there was a place I wanted to get into.
Off camera.
I'll whistleblow.
Off camera.
Yes, off camera. There's a place I wanted to go into, and I had really met all the criteria to be given that particular space. But then when I went into Office A, they told me that the places were full. I went to Office B, they told me the places were full. Everywhere I went, they were telling me that the spaces were full. And yet when I went back and I was a little taken aback. I was a bit, you know, down and stuff. And then my friend tells me about how there are actually spaces, and that particular individual has more space than they actually need, because their parent knew the person who is in charge, and the child expressed interest of, I want to stay alone.
You want
so
to, the
it
child
was for accommodation, right? So someone is trying to get a room somewhere,
Yes.
and everyone else is being told the space is done.
Yes.
But that particular space comes at a very subsidized price if you meet the criteria. So I meet the criteria, they're telling me that the spaces are full and I have nothing to do about it. And this particular individual is telling me how they, in the very particular space, they don't have the criteria being in that particular space in the first place, but they're also getting it all alone, a space that could fit 3-4 people. I was not very happy, but now that I know whistleblowing is something that is it's ably, you know,
It's a good thing, and it is profitable.
It's profitable, and it is building this community and this country. Trust me, I am going to begin. I'll take my citizenship responsibilities more seriously now.
Now that everybody here at least has shared a couple of experiences with their with facing off corruption, what is the lesson that you have picked out of that experience, Oremo? What do you think has been that big lesson that has, you know, snapped with you?
One of the key lessons I've learned, which is on a bad note, by the way, it's not something that we need to take for granted as a country, is that as a country we have reached to a point where the aspect of Godfather is a very fundamental aspect of succeeding in a rotten community like this one, because it blows to an extent that if Anna Renaitwe does not have a godfather holding her hand, probably she will not realize her dreams. If you don't have someone holding your hands, probably you're going to lose, even the country is even going to miss you from a bigger perspective, because you probably could offer good services to the country. But because you don't have someone to hold you, to put you to a position where you can demonstrate but also get a platform to exercise the potential you are frustrated. Meritocracy has been sent to the rubbish bin. That is where we are right now. So the lesson is that without a godfather, it's becoming a little bit hard for you to make a step in this country. Because like I have told you, like I've shared with you, everywhere there's a ring. She told you she went to many offices and they're telling her there is no space. There's a ring everywhere. And so for you to penetrate and break those rings, you need someone to hold your hand. But also, the other lesson is that every Ugandan outside there must know is that we're killing our country.
Yeah,
we are killing our country because of selfish interests. Simple. Because why would you go into stealing little monies when you have a future? Like Madame Patricia did say here, when I was watching one of the shows some time back. And also when you listen to her story, how she grew, she did not fall from heaven to be to be at IG. No, it was a moderate process of growth, and people must know that you're not going to fall from
into
heaven
things
and be somewhere.
That is the reason why I
sir.
wanted to disagree with you a little bit. Agree with you to some extent, but also disagree, because my example you're just picking, I did not have a godfather anywhere. It was about excellence in performance, excellence in service with distinctiveness, and trying to be different and standing out from the crowd. So I believe a message to young people there, if you work hard with excellence and stand out from the crowd, and not stick to common things or move with the crowd, distinguish yourself. Don't do common things like now everybody's studying common law, general. Pick something that makes you different. Widen your knowledge base, be knowledgeable on a number of issues, and excel in your different assignments. And you'll find yourself climbing
Out of the
without
crowd.
necessarily having a godfather to pick you or elevate you. People will admire your output and want to work with you or associate with you.
Let's take a break. We're going to be right back with more on the conversation. Welcome back from that short break. You are still here on Your Space with your host, Hannah Arinite. We're still having a conversation right here on raising humanity in a corrupt world. How can we keep our ethics on the right track? Now, before we went into a break, we were looking at the lessons and, you know, corruption and connections and all these different things. Now, if you are seated in your sitting room right now and you are disagreeing, saying, there is no way I can make it to this world without connections, I think you need to look at it from a different perspective. Monica.
Yes.
How can we look at it in a different perspective?
I think, okay, for me personally, that's the thing that really hurts and pains most, because if your convenience comes at the cost of another person's convenience, then where is the joy in having what you're having, right? If I won the election, not because I was the best candidate for that particular thing, but I won it and I was given I mean, if I bought my way into that election and into that office, what I've literally done is compromise the goodness of the entire community, their wants, their desires, their aspirations as a people, because they didn't pick me as a leader. They picked someone else whom they thought, connected to their vision and stuff like that. Now, in this country, there are those whom, I won't say corruption, there are those whom connections have worked for, and there are those who have actually worked hard and earned the right to be where they are. So in this country, we are dealing with two types of people. Unfortunately, the former are the majority in this nation. So yes, we are having this conversation. Yes, there is somebody out there, and they know my kid is not too bright, but one phone call at this particular university to this particular person, and they will have the top seat. And there are experiences where we have, even in universities, who's, of course, now maybe public or whatever, but the conversations we have had and experiences we have, because these are our people. You see, what you're doing for your children, they tell us. And then for us to be thinking our parents are just unserious people. We have people who don't show up for exams, but they are graduating with you from the same university, getting the same credentials for the same course you struggled for the coursework experiences that they can't relate to. You get? And then you're asking yourself, how is this happening? And then tomorrow you want us to vote this particular son of yours, this particular daughter of yours, and trust them with the future of our children. Yet we have seen what you have done with our future when we were with your children. So, and then what kind of individual do you think is going to come out of that son of yours, right? So I feel like if you're let this be the checkpoint. If your convenience comes at the cost of another person's right and another person's convenience, it is too expensive for us as a country, and for you. You may not see it now, but your children will.
Definitely. I saw Remo nodding his head for a second there. You totally agree?
Remo seems to be agreeing, but before he agrees with what Monica has said, you know, this is our country. We all have to fit in it, and we have to serve this country. In order to help this country, it is very important for those examples to come out. Like, how can someone come and sit exams for another? Or how can someone get a transcript or results for exams he or she never sat for? Those are cases which need to be brought out for us as the Inspectorate of Government to investigate. Please, 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 whistleblow. We have institutions we are investigating now with some of these examples, and soon we will be publishing in the papers so that you see and know which ones are those who are not maintaining the principles and values for this country. Like we said, trust is increasingly a rare commodity in this country today, and people no longer trust. Yes, people no longer trust. But it's important for us to think about going back to the drawing board and think about how we can rebuild this trust, how we can begin to encourage people to value transparency, how we can encourage people as leaders to be accountable, to fight corruption in their institutions. Like, we have very important documents we did for this country, the Zero Tolerance Corruption Policy, the National Anti-Corruption Strategy, and then we've disseminated it all over the place, and each institution has got to have its own strategy. We even published launched one in Makerere, the Youth Handbook to fight against corruption. We should not just throw those to the shelves. We should bring them out and unpack our responsibilities. What are our responsibilities? How can we value transparency? How can we exemplify humility? Today you've said Mwanawani. Now if it is Mwanawani in an institution, those are people who do not know about the values of the institution. They do not know about the mandate of the institution because they have just been brought and put there. Can they be weeded out and we get people of quality? Yes. These days we have people who even fail to write reports. You tell someone, prepare for me this legal brief.
You have no idea.
You see typos, you see verbiage, and you say, what am I going to do with this Holocaust? And they went through an interview. So we need to demonstrate, first of all, support for one another, and we need to demonstrate love for this country and be as patriotic as possible. And then we need to embrace the attitude of service. Because if we are on this earth and we are not serving, then what are we here to do? Are we here to just be served? We have a responsibility And the young people out there have a responsibility, and the citizens have a responsibility to clean up our country of these incidences. We need to encourage the two-way participation. If I am to serve, then I should also be served. The other people out there, the citizens, want service delivery. But now look, the roads, some people in the districts are waiting for the releases so that they eat as much, and the people even who say it was my turn to take that money, and you see a road is not done year in, year out. Services in the hospital, we see mothers dying. Can we have those revamped by change of attitude? So the purpose of this conversation is basically about mindset change. If we can drive that mindset change and be the ambassadors of integrity, then we shall see minimized cases of corruption coming up, and we shall see the participation of the youth in making a contribution in the development of this country. Otherwise, I think it calls for mentorship, it calls for nurturing. I like to give the example of a dog. I don't know if some of you have taken care of dogs. When you get a dog, you give it some little food, it will enjoy the food. When you bathe it and make it comfortable, it will become your friend, and it will become loyal to you. It will begin to trust you and begin to take your instructions. So if we mentor, if we nurture the young people, then we shall be able to see this mindset change we are talking about, and the perception will completely change, and people will begin valuing this country and do whatever it takes to serve this country rather than wait to be served. Yes.
Now, as we come to the close of the conversation, just one thing I'd like us to particularly have focus on, that the role that leaders play in our lives as young people really affect the way we end up transferring into the society. Now, before we get a close on the conversation, Oremo, I'd like to ask you to encourage aspiring youth leaders to prioritize integrity, transparency in their work, even as they are going into the position, during the position, and even when they leave the positions.
Yeah, thank you very much. You see, just before I can come there, from what Doctor has just said, one of the personalities I love so much and follow so much that has demonstrated, you know, love and transparency is Professor Lumumba, a Kenyan lawyer. He one time made a statement that one of the key reasons why African countries are still suffering is that they are so locked into lamentations and sorrows.
All the time.
They are ever crying and lamenting. I think as a country we need to take action and become the change makers ourselves. Because we must have the clarity that there is no one who is going to move from Cuba to come and build for us our country. And it is our, you know, obligation to put hygiene in our country, in public service, in civil service, and even in normal day-to-day life. On the streets, we must have the discipline of respecting the street laws. You know, we should restrain ourselves from the arrogance of, because of some little power you have around you.
Yes, you want to misuse it.
You want to start violating the law. You are causing traffic jam. All that is corruption, because it affects our economy. It affects our growth as a country. For the young leaders who are aspiring, maybe my age mates and perhaps people who are yet to come behind us, I believe that we need to benchmark with the great leaders who have demonstrated cleanliness and hygiene, and they have grown to positions that we admire to be in. A very key example is here next to us. She shared with us her story when she came to Makerere University, how she started from scratch up to where she is now without anyone holding her hand. So we must be in position to believe in competency. We must believe in merit. We must believe in doing good. Professor Balunya, the principal of MOOBS, keeps saying that knowledge will distinguish you even when you are in a crowd of people who do not know anything. For you, you will stand out. And so we must do a lot of capacity building as leaders so that we can stand and speak on merit without someone holding our hands. Because in most cases, when you are pushed somewhere, when someone holds your hands and takes you somewhere, you start getting two accountability spots. You account to the greater institutional boss, but also you account to your boss, who will make you compromise on the services that you should be in position to offer to the society. So to my colleagues outside there, we must adopt that nationalistic spirit that will help us build our country. And she has said that we should now become the change makers. That means we should whistle blow problems that we are facing in society. And for me, I want to encourage you to again interest yourself in my district, because I believe one of the reasons why our district is still suffering, you go to the hospital, there are no services, medicine is not there. You find medicine in just the first 1 week of the supplies, after there is nothing. You find jobs are being given out to people without considering the aspect of merit. So I would want to interest you and other districts in upcountry areas. The problems are the same.
So you have whistle-blown,
Whistle-blown
this
on national television.
This one is not whistle-blowing,
This is
actually. This is
public.
public, and,
Public.
and I have no apology for whoever is
I will
watching
pick interest in
from
Dokolo.
wherever they are. We have a big problem. Roads are dilapidated. Schools don't have benches where kids can sit. So we need you on board. And yeah, basically that's what I can say. And yeah.
Okay, it's been a lovely conversation with my panel today. Allow me to say bye-bye. See you again next Sunday, 5 p.m. on UBC. This has been Your Space with your host, Hannah United. Bye-bye.